United Kingdom has just joined with us. Before I begin with the introduction of Professor Buhalis, I would just to confirm with Professor Buhalis. Professor Buhalis, can you please hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon from us. So just let begin with Professor Buhalis' introduction. Professor Buhalis is a professor in marketing strategy and innovation from Bournemouth University, United Kingdom, and Professor Buhalis will be talking to us on the topic of smart and ambient intelligence tourism visioning 2030, and he is one of the very top speaker on this particular area. Professor Dimitrios Buhalis is a strategic management and marketing expert with specialization in information communication technology applications in the tourism, travel, hospitality, and leisure industries. He is the director of the e-Tourism Lab and deputy director of the International Center of Tourism and Hospitality Research at Bournemouth University School in London, England. He is the editor of in chief of the most established journal in tourism, Tourism Review, now and SCCI journal in its 75th volume, and the editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. Professor Buhalis has written and co-edited more than 20 books and 250 scientific articles. His research is referenced widely, being the second most cited for tourism and first most cited in hospitality, 18th on strategy and 30th in marketing on Google Scholar, with more than 44,500 citation and H-index 89. Professor Buhalis is a candidate for the 2020 highly cited researcher list from Clarivate. The highly cited researcher list identifies researchers who produced multiple papers, making in the top 1% by citation for their chosen field or fields and year of publication, demonstrating significant influence among their peers. This top 1% of the global research community represent magnets in their respective discipline. Professor Dimitrios' current research focus includes real-time and now-ness, smart tourism and smart hospitality, social media context, and mobile marketing, reputation and social media strategies, accessibility and special diets, tourism. Professor Buhalis is a well-known international speaker on trends, technology, marketing, tourism, and hospitality, and works closely with the United Nations World Tourism Organization, UNWTO. Professor Buhalis is an inspirational forward thinker that undertakes cutting-edge research, develops innovation, and makes a major impact on global society. He works closely with the international tourism industry and is supporting tourism and hospitality organizations around the world with strategic marketing innovation using cutting-edge technologies. I'm very proud to present you Professor Dimitrios Buhalis on board with us, and he is one of the top tourism academician and the brand for our tourism industry. Professor Buhalis, please.
Thank you very much. A great honor to be with you. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for the wonderful introduction. How long have I got?
Professor Buhalis, you will be speaking for 45 minutes and 15 minutes for question and answering session.
Okay. I'll try to speak for less because I'd like to answer more questions, and normally at the end of the session we've got quite a lot of questions.
Thank you.
And what I'd like to say is that, look, the tourism industry has been suffering dramatically in the last few months because of COVID. I guess a lot of colleagues have already covered that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'll give you a strategy of what I think that people should be doing during the COVID era, and then we look into what's going to happen in the future and how technology and smartness and agility is going to help us reignite tourism. All this based in research I've been doing on smart tourism and agility for a long time, and a lot of the publications and the papers I'm going to show you are not specific for COVID. They are much more into developing value through co-creation, but actually COVID is asking us for new value through the interaction with health authorities and health services. Before I start, I like to invite you to submit papers in Tourism Review tourism review is developing really, really fast. We celebrate 75 years. We started publishing in 1946. And you should engage with the tourism review and submit your papers, your best papers to tourism review. I'm also developing the encyclopedia for tourism management and marketing. And again, this is a very interesting project I would like you to be part of. And I'll be more than happy to engage with you on LinkedIn, and you can see all the announcements on LinkedIn or on Twitter to see how we can engage with these things. So COVID is a crisis unlike any other. We are very used in tourism to deal with crises. We had September 11, and we had a lot of other crises, natural disasters, tsunamis, volcanoes, all kinds of disasters. The problem with COVID is that it doesn't have an end day. We are going through COVID, and we've been going through COVID for the best part of 9 months, depending where you are. And and now we are seeing the second wave in many countries. We see the first super wave in countries like India right now. But we see in Europe, we already start going to second lockdown. This is really, really difficult to deal with. This is Bournemouth Beach in April 2019 at the Easter break, where everybody was on the beach and they were enjoying the day. And this is Bournemouth in 2020. You can see the difference, and you can imagine what's the impact of these things on the economy, on people's welfare, and how we engage with the local society. We're predicting that we're going to have a fantastic year in 2020, and all the numbers and all the statistics were really, really very positive. And I work very closely with the United Nations World Tourism Organization. We were expecting an incredibly good year, but unfortunately, COVID stopped us. And a lot of companies came up and they said, look, guys, we cannot travel. You should better stay at home. You should better engage with domestic kind of activities. And we said, see you later. We are not in a position to see you. And you see all kind of very sad pictures of planes that they are parked in different airports. This is Bournemouth Airport, with a lot of planes from British Airways waiting there to be called back in service. And we see that everywhere in the world. British Airways is currently operating 1/4 of the schedule that was operating a year ago, and it's still flying quite a lot of empty planes. And this is the situation we find everywhere around the world. Now, when these things happen, a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my friends were calling me from around the world, and from Greece in particular, to say, okay, what are we going to do? This is a disaster. How are we going to operate? How we're going to survive? And I said the only parallel that you can see with this kind of situation is effectively, it's effectively like a war situation. It's not a disaster, it's a war. And in a war situation, you don't know when it's going to finish. You don't know what's going to leave behind. And I call for humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience. I think those 4 key words are really, really important while we're still in the COVID era. We really need to show humanity. We need to show solidarity to our staff, to our local communities, to our customers, to everybody who's involved with us, and to engage in communication and to support each other in a very humanitarian way. To do that, we need leadership, and we need leaders to understand the nature of the challenge and to understand how we can operate in this particular situation, to make sure that people who are trapped in this situation, they can come on the other side with a minimal level of damage that can happen. We really need resilience, and we need the resilience that it's a different scale right now. And resilience means that we need to ensure liquidity in the industry, but also we need to look after everybody who is involved through solidarity and humanity. Until then, as Greece says, stay safe. And the WTO came up with the with a campaign some time ago, say, stay home today, travel tomorrow. Increasingly, we're trying to get people to travel, and increasingly, we're trying to get the tourism industry going, but we need to be minded of safety, and we need to be minded of what we're trying to do. I think one of the things that came out during this period is the level of solidarity that tourism industry has shown to communities. And it's not about what communities can do for tourism and hospitality, but what tourism and hospitality can do for communities. And I'm very proud of our industry, because our industry was one of the first industries that they really put together all our resources online to support the health professionals and to support all those people who are in need. And we did that at our cost. And we did that at a situation where we were bleeding from resources, but we really realized, the global tourism hospitality industry realized how important it was for us to support the communities and to support our health system with all the resources we had. We had empty hotels. We had rent cars that were not used. We had planes that would transfer medical facilities and medical equipment. We had all kinds of equipment that was available to us to support our communities. And I'm very proud of the global resilience that we've showed as a community. We talked about tourism needs to provide solidarity and commitment and support communities globally. And the World Tourism Organization, WTTC, European Travel Commission, PATA, and a lot of other organizations around the world are leading this. I came up quite early from March, because in Europe in March, it was not really, COVID was not really a very strong kind of problem. We could see that in Asia, in China in particular, and we could see that that was happening there, but we couldn't see the impact it's going to have through Europe. And I remember on the 17th of February, I met the Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization in Athens, and we're discussing about how COVID is going to affect global tourism, and we agree that we really need to be very, very careful and to be very observant of what would happen. From the 3rd of March, I start calling brace, 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 and I said to the tourism industry that we need to find ways to actually manage that. And I said to the tourism industry that we need to find a way to look after primarily our human resources and our communities, and also our liquidity in terms of relationships with the banks and relationships with all our partners. I think one of the things that COVID is going to leave behind is the understanding of the me versus the we. We really need to go away from me, very individualistic behavior, to a we behavior, where we as a community, we get together and we operate collectively to manage our resources sustainably, and also to look after each other as a community. And the community is a global community. There's no space and there is no scope anymore for individualism in this global community. And that should become much, much more evident every day. I'm very proud of several companies around the world that they've done that. This is several restaurants in London, restaurant chains in London, that they got together, and while they were losing a lot of money by not operating, they were producing quite a lot of food, and they were sending that to the National Health Service. And they were supporting the nurses and the doctors that they were fighting on the first line. And Hilton and many other companies around the world, they start providing accommodation and support for those people who needed more. And you had communities being fed by different kinds of organizations. This is one of my favorite, became one of my favorite restaurants in Greece. I've never been there, but during the height of the pandemic, they start cooking about 300 portions of food every day, and they were leaving it outside the restaurant, and they were saying to people, help yourselves and come along and please don't be hungry, take some food and survive this period. And that created a community that other people were bringing them raw material like pasta, oil, tomatoes, whatever, to enable them to cook that food and to provide that for the community in their neighborhood. I think this kind of initiatives get me every time because they are really showing the solidarity and how tourism can help the communities. And this solidarity is what makes us special in tourism hospitality, because we really give our heart to our guests on whenever we provide services, either for payment or because we are hospitable people, we provide that as a matter of course. I think when we start looking to the future, we started reigniting the tourism industry, and we need to realize that we are not going to go where we were before, but we started going to a new future, where the new future will have different characteristics. I think it's critical to understand that there's no point of looking backwards. It's really critical to start looking forward. So there's no point looking into the mirror, but we should really look into the future and see how we can learn from the past, but focus on the situation we've got in front of us. Many people around the world, they tell me, oh, you know, this COVID situation is getting us in a very difficult situation and we should not be doing this. And I say, I'm sorry, but we don't have a choice. Until we are all out and safe and survive the situation, we are not going to be able to be in a safe situation. We can reignite tourism, and we can reignite tourism because we are blessed with incredible assets, with products, with authentic experiences, with local residents that they support us. We can differentiate our product, we can provide authenticity, and we can engage in all our resources. One of the good things about COVID is in relationship to other crises, is it doesn't really destroy resources. What it does, it has caused a pause in the tourism hospitality industry. This is a strategic response framework that I've been developing for a while now, which is really about what do we do during the crisis, which is really about putting people first, making sure that we have safety and security throughout our environments, look after ourselves and our loved ones, look after our staff and our community and our customers, and provide humanitarian aid to all our communities. Look into our finance, and I talked about liquidity and stock early on, and look into all the relationships that we've got and communications with our partners, with our suppliers, with distributors, reservations, and make sure that we keep the engine warm with smart initiatives. Then you've got a range of different strategies on human strategies, money strategies, operational process, product propositions, distribution pricing, strategy and competitiveness, and destination strategies, to make sure that we can go to the next stage and be successful again. Because the tourism industry for the last 30, 40 years, and I've been in this business for about 30, 35 years, has been super successful and has seen incredible growth, even in the most difficult periods of life and during economic recession. Tourism has never stopped, and I'm pretty certain that this is going to be the future as well. But in the meanwhile, we really need to use smart technologies and methodologies to look after our ecosystems and bring agility, to understand what is happening, and to create solutions and methodologies to bring everybody forward in the next to the next stage of where we are. I think what's important to realize is that destinations cannot be COVID safe, but they need to be COVID ready. COVID ready means that they need to be smart. They should follow the protocols that the health authorities are giving us. And we need to look into all the process and redesign the process in a way that we can help reducing the COVID spread. I think the most critical things, we keep hearing that, but it's also very, very important to hear, is that washing hands, keeping distance, make sure that you don't go into congested areas, utilize outside spaces more than that you do inside. And I need to add, we really need to make sure that we donate enough blood to the local hospitals. Please, 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 if I want you to remember something from this presentation today, is to make sure that you donate blood, especially younger people, especially your students, and especially the students who are following us. Please go to the local hospital and donate blood. Most of the hospitals around the world, they're absolutely desperate for blood right now. Please, please make sure that you do that. Because blood it's something that we cannot buy. We really need to donate for fellow citizens and our communities when they need it. And you never know when you'll need it yourself. So it's really, really important. I think we really need to understand in real time the context, and we need to look into the location, the clientele, the space, the architecture, the services, the personnel, the process, and the business models that we operate in order to understand what we should be doing. A lot of people have been asking me for a recipe on how they can reopen their business or how they can be successful. There's not one recipe. Everybody needs to cook their own recipe in the way that fits their particular clientele, their particular resources, their architecture, their space, and how they operate. And that makes it complicated, but equally, it gives us an opportunity to actually engage with our resources and our facilities in a clever way and make them future-proofing, enabling us to look into what we can do and how we can take advantage of the new reality and the new normality that's emerging. I think we're looking to how we can reignite the tourism industry slowly and gradually, and how then we should start refocusing and redesigning everything we do. It's really critical to refocus how we operate, look into things that we didn't like and change them, and redesign the tourism industry in a way that can satisfy all the stakeholders and create value for all the stakeholders. I think ultimately we start looking to the re-engineering of the tourism industry. COVID gives us an opportunity to study what we do and engage in that kind of conversation to see how we can re-engineer what we do so we can all take advantage of the things that we need, that we can do in the future in order to make sure that we rationalize tourism in the new realities. Now, many of you would have read some of my articles about smartness and agility. And smartness and agility is really taking advantage of the contextual information, what's happening around you, and providing real-time and engagement. And provide real-time engagement with all the stakeholders in order to co-create value. It takes advantage of technology, but smartness is not about technology. Smartness is about having different ways of operating. And it's all about looking to all the systems that we have got in order to make sure that we can optimize the network and optimize the resources in different stages of our travel. Smartness takes advantage of interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer processes and data in order to produce innovative services, products, and procedures towards maximizing value of all the stakeholders. This re-engineering enables shaping products, actions, processes, and services in real time by engaging different stakeholders simultaneously to optimize the collective performance and competitiveness and generate agile solutions and value for everybody who's involved in the value system. And I'll give you several references because obviously in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I cannot really go through all the research I've been doing for the last 30 years. But if you see this publication earlier this year, that is on the anniversary issue of Tourism Review, it tells you how we are moving from e-tourism to smart tourism to ambient intelligence tourism, where all these technologies are coming forward to help us developing these things. And we take advantage of networks through interoperability and interconnectivity, the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything, sensors and beacons, big data and analytics, social media and user-generated content, technology enablers, value co-creation, and competition. Those things are helping us to move forward. Now, we've been using them for a long time in order to improve value. And where value was really about the satisfaction of consumers and the different stakeholders. But I think what we find increasingly is that value right now, the first element of value is safety and security. And I think a lot of our consumers are looking into us to explain how they'll have a secure and safe experience when they travel with us. When you look into all the smartness and all the different technological disruptions, this figure and this publication is looking to how enabling technologies like 5G, artificial intelligence, blockchains, cryptos, and things like that, are bringing innovations. And those innovations are coming to the marketplace to make sure that we take advantage of all the opportunities that are happening in the marketplace. This will enable us to use artificial intelligence, to use autonomous devices, location-based services, context-based services, and augmented and virtual reality to make sure that we operate in the best possible way. Context is very, very important, and we talked about it in this publication, in understanding the internal context and the external context. Internal context is really about the individuals, where they've got several things to do and they've got some preference and they've got some abilities or disabilities, allergies, some things that they like and they dislike. And the external context is what's happening in our environment. Now, COVID is a part of the external external context that has stopped a lot of other things. But things like weather and location and political situations and traffic and emergencies and delays, all of those things influence how we're doing tourism and how we can co-create tourism in real time. Now, when I'm talking about technology, quite often, and smartness, quite a lot of people are only thinking about smartness is about technology. In fact, it isn't. It's a combination of a whole range of things. But smartness is primarily driven by people. And we need human capital, special and knowledge management to bring leadership forward in order to make sure that we bring economic actors, socio-cultural actors, and technological actors all together to co-create smart environments in the ecosystem. It's really critical not to be blocked by looking to smartness as just technology, because with all the best technology in the world, you can achieve very, very little. In fact, imagine that you've got the best car in the world and you don't know how to drive it. The only thing that you can do is you can go in the car and play the radio. Unless you know, and unless you've got all the factors around it, there's no way that you can maximize the benefit of smartness. And when you're looking to things, innovations like the sharing economy, we really need to be getting ready to look into the bright side and the dark side of the sharing economy and see what regulations do we need, what planning do we need, what partnerships do we need, and what policing and law enforcement we need in order to make sure that we can take advantage of all the opportunities that things, innovations like sharing economies bring to the place, and avoid all the pitfalls that also are coming forward. One of the most critical things is really understand how we can engage in contact, social contact with customers when customers are traveling. And before they're traveling, during their time at the destination and after they come back. And this is some research we've done with Daisy Fan and Lynn in understanding how people choose to actually communicate when they travel and how they're engaging. And we created 6 types, a typology of 6 types of people that they're using technology and they're using different kind of media to communicate online and offline. And those 6 types are going from those who are very much involved with the daily life controller, that they're constantly connected with the people that they're detoxing when they're traveling, people who do not access any information and they do not access any devices that they're connected. And we call this the home zone, and this is the away zone. So you can see the difference on how we can actually deal with those people and what services we need to offer to them. Have a look on this publication because we're explaining that in more detail. And I think one of the most critical aspects of all that is what we call real-time services. And real-time services is understanding nowness and supporting nowness in a way to operate and manage our resources in the best possible ways. So what happens is that you've got several real-time triggers that create a situation. And then you've got you've got real-time information coming forward that is pushing co-creation that's based on data. And then we have got to develop customer-centric solutions to enhance the experience. And especially in the COVID period, understanding what are the conditions, the epidemiological conditions in each of those areas and in each of these locations, and engaging in real-time communication with the local authorities has become absolutely critical for not only for the experience and the satisfaction of consumers, but also survival. I think ultimately we're going towards ambient intelligence, where smart systems will be propelling interconnectivity and interoperability of all the systems through the vehicles and devices, autonomous vehicles and devices, and the Internet of Things. And those will kind of engage with artificial intelligence, machine learning, 5G, and all of those things to maximize the value that we are co-creating with different stakeholders. That will bring human-to-human communication at all stages, and will embrace communications with business, with governments, with consumers, with employees, with interest groups, and even with robots and machines to maximize the value that we're creating. And you can see here all of those things bringing customer centricity, where the customer is right in the middle, and all the technologies and all the techniques and all the smartness is just around it. To enable that kind of communication and to maximize the benefits for all the stakeholders. I think in this kind of era, I'll show you very briefly some of the solutions that technology is bringing to COVID. And you can see one of the interesting things that COVID has done is it has pushed digitization beyond belief. It has brought digitization on the forefront of all the activities that we've got. So this is a hotel icon, Hong Kong, where they've got thermal scanners and they're bringing everybody in, and they are looking into all kinds of measures to make sure that guests are safe when they're coming in. This is in different airports where, as you are going through, people are taking your temperature and trying to identify who is at risk. I think increasingly we need to look into our locations, and I talked earlier about the space that you've got and the facilities that you manage. We need to understand the flows of the facilities, and we need to understand how we can make sure that we're protecting both our employees and our staff through appropriate measures. And a lot of the new experience will be no-touch experience. So a lot of technology is going to come to mobile phones as remote controls of life, where we are going to prevent people from touching anything, but they'll be interacting with our facility using mobile phones. You've seen some of these machines disinfecting rooms with UVC. And you see some fogging machines going around, clearing a lot of those things. And then you've got the track and trace facilities that they are trying to identify where people have been and if they've been exposed to danger, and develop mechanisms to actually reduce that. So there are a lot of applications out there that are used by different governments to actually help people understand where they are, and whether they have been involved with other people who are in that particular place. So if you're going to a restaurant or in a hospital and you have a lot of exposure, people can track and trace you. And then you've seen the Chinese government has got an application like that that was giving a green passport effectively for people to be able to travel. Increasingly, you see a lot of robots that they're operating, and robots will do all the dangerous things, like this is military equipment, but also a lot of things that are coming into medicine and operating in places where it will be difficult and dangerous for humans. And you see some of the applications are happening already with robots operating in hospitals where they had a very difficult kind of epidemiological situation. And you see robots providing some of the functions where it will be too dangerous for humans, or whether humans will not have sufficient, we wouldn't have sufficient human resources to be able to deal with these things. And increasingly you see robots in operations with very prestige and very specific kind of applications, and this is the Da Vinci machine. But in tourism, you see a lot of robots coming into redesigning the offer that we do. And we've seen some of the Japanese hotels that are offering some kind of services that they are provided by humans. Now, I know that in different places, the cost of labor and the human input is very different. But in places like Europe, where 50% of the cost of operations can be labor cost, some of these facilities may actually help reducing the cost, and at the same time, they may improve some of the value that's being co-created. Whether you like to be served by a robot or not, that's another matter. But for the time being, there is an element of innovation, and also at the time being, it's a little bit safer to be serviced by robots rather than humans that you do not know if they've got infections. And you see some of the deliveries, and you can see some of these things happening around the world. And normally when I say these things, people think that this is something that's going to happen in the future. But in fact, this is my friend that started following me in the New Century Grand Hotel in Hangzhou in China, this time last year. It was funny because everywhere I was going, he was around. I think, my friends, we find a situation where we need leadership, as I said from the beginning, but we need to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And we know that there'll be a rainbow after the rain, after the storm, but for the time being, we're the storm. And we need to look after ourselves and our communities. We need to give blood. We need to look after those people who are in more need, and to support what we do, and wait a little bit until the better days are coming. I think one of the things that we learned from COVID is that people desperately want to travel. They're so desperate that they want to travel that they'll do anything, even go sometimes. Yeah, I think Qantas Airlines started some flights to nowhere, so people were going up on the air and they were coming down, landing again, just sightseeing from the air, and they sold all their seats immediately. And I think another airline started serving meals on board, and people were desperate to go on planes to get meals on board. I think tourism is incredibly important for our mental health, and now everybody realizes that. I've used a lot of the material, and I went through very, very quickly. This is a list of publications that I'm basing most of the presentation on, and I advise you to have a look, or go into Buhalis publications, and you'll see the latest research that's coming out from my lab, and you can see how you can benefit from that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste. This is my contact details. If you'd like to contact me, LinkedIn is the best way to actually engage with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Buhalis, for your wonderful presentation. It was an honor to listen to your presentation. Before I move into question and answering session, I would like to request Professor Dr. Sultanul Aziz, distinguished professor from our place, from my university, to make some remarks on the presentation. Professor Sultanul Aziz, if you can hear me. Dr. Sultanul Aziz.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I don't. You hear me?
Yes.
I don't hear you. Okay. I could not hear the whole presentation, but I'm very impressed with all the slides that I've been able to see and follow. Some of them too many information, many others are excellent slides. And also the last slides of the robots I really loved, but beyond the reach of Bangladesh. The technological advancements he has made, this has been very beneficial for all of us. Smart tourism and COVID, I don't know where we are. The reignite tourism, this is the central theme. And the last advice and hope you gave us, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Distinguished professor, yourself in your own place, known worldwide, Professor Dimitrios, we are very grateful for such an extensive presentation. Our students and teachers will benefit. I benefited myself. I'll go through with your presentation and your reference section and recommend to our faculty for following through. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Aziz. So now we will move to the question and answering session. So I would like to begin with Ridoy Mahmood. Ridoy Mahmood, are you here? Can you hear me? Ridoy?
Sir, he is absent. His electricity gone.
Okay, so I'll move to Sakib bin Alam. Sakib bin Alam, you have a question. Please raise your question. Thank you very much.
Hello, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So actually, the whole day we are talking about the corona or COVID. So I want to talk something or ask something different. So do you think that Brexit will affect the outbound tourism of UK? If so, then positively or negatively?
God knows
You
is
get
the
my
answer.
question?
We need to ask. We need to ask Mr. Boris Johnson what is his plans, because the way we are going to deal with Brexit is very unclear. Currently, the latest information is that we're going to a no deal Brexit from the European Commission. I think it's really Brexit's it's an interesting one because we don't really know what's going to happen. Yet it's a matter of negotiation. The negotiation is getting tough. I think what is clear to everybody is that people would like to travel to the wonderful places in Europe. The British people would like to travel to Spain, to Greece, to Europe in general. And I think we'll find a way to travel like what we travel in different places that they were not part of the European Union. I think there'll be some changes in terms of showing passports when we're coming back, and I don't think we'll have visas in Europe, but I think there'll be some more formality than in some other places. But I think smartness will also take some of the formalities away, because what's going to happen is that we're going to have biological and biometrics identification. So in fact, when you'll arrive to a place, you'll be going through borders much faster because you'll have biometrics doing the work for you, the identification work. It's a difficult situation. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Watch this
Okay,
space.
thank you.
Ask me in a year's time. We may have more clarity.
Okay. Actually, I have another question. I think I want to ask you. that is about virtual tourism. So do you think that if this pandemic sustains for a long period of time, the virtual tourism will take place of the distance tourism and it will be a replacement? What do you think?
I think virtual tourism is happening already. A lot of people, I really want to experience a lot of places in the world that I cannot go currently, or I cannot go because I don't have the time or the money, or I don't speak the local language, and I can engage as much as I can with information and films and YouTube and whatever else I can find about the place. The more I can deal with virtual reality, and the more inclusive and I'm looking for the word, immersive technologies I can use to experience that, the better it will be. But I think eventually what we've seen every time is that virtual reality tourism is leading to real tourism, because a lot of people then are getting motivated to go and see the real thing, to go and see London in real rather than what they imagine or what they've seen on films. So anything that we do on virtual, I think is going to result to real tourism in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the answers from a distinguished professor like you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sakib bin Alam. And we have more questions. I have a question from Sumaya Akhtar. Akhtar, could you please ask your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presentation. Sir, I have a question that in this, according to the theme of rural development in tourism, for the 100% rural development in tourism, we need to interact local people, and we need to engage local people with smart tourism, as you said. But in this case, we know that local people don't have enough skills and they don't have enough education. So how we can engage local peoples with the smart tourism? My question is that. Thank you.
This is a very interesting question, very complicated question, and I cannot pretend that this got an easy answer. First of all, rural tourism in different places, it's very different in the way that operates. I know that in your context, in your reality, it's a lot of domestic tourism. So people are going from cities and big urban centers, they're going probably to see, visiting friends, relatives, and also they go back to rural areas to kind of reconnect with nature. What I've seen this summer is that a lot of people went back to rural areas because they were less crowded than a lot of these big cities and a lot of the tourism resorts. So this summer in particular, a lot of places around the world, they had a lot of growth in rural tourism. The question then is, are the people in the rural tourism able to serve these customers and engage with these customers in the best possible way? Do they have the facilities? Do they speak languages? Are they service oriented? And I think this is a big discussion that we should have. But I think increasingly what you find is that the minute that, that there is a possibility, then the local community is rising to the challenge. I've seen some situations where this has been done really, really well. And the last time I was in Bali in Indonesia, and they have taken some of the villages and they've turned them into tourism villages, enabling people and managing the interaction, because rural tourism can be really dangerous. When you bring people, tourists to local communities, it can be really dangerous for the communities because of all kinds of problems that tourism can bring. So it needs to be done properly. So I've seen a very nice development of that in Indonesia, and I guess we need to learn from our friends in Bali on how they are doing this. But what you do is you bring a community together, and you bring the leaders of the community together, and you bring those people who have got the skills to help everybody else. So if, for example, you are going to a community and the local women do not have the skills, so they don't speak the languages, you may find that their kids, their daughters or their sons, that they've gone to school, to university, are much better in communicating and have got more skills to serve their customers. So what you do is you create interfaces. So those people who have got the skills are becoming interfaces to those people who do not have the skill. But the difficult thing is to make sure that the benefits of what's happening is distributed equally to everybody. And you don't create power problems with distributors and those who are actually controlling those skills. And the way to do that is gradually educate local communities on how to interact with tourists and operate within that new ecosystem. So it's a gradual thing of education and training, and it's looking to the community who can take us forward and how can I bring catalyst of change to make sure that we do that in a beneficiary way. It's a very complicated thing, and it's a long discussion we should have.
Thank you very much. I believe Sumaya Akhtar, you have got your answer. Professor, I would like to ask Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, would you like to take a few more questions, if you have
Yeah, I
time?
would be more than happy
Okay.
to.
Thank you very much. So our next question is from Salma. Salma, would you like to tell your question, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for giving me a platform. It's a great honor to ask question to the professor. So, professor, my question is to establish smart tourism domestically, we may face some challenges. So, how can we overcome these challenges? Can you please explain? And what are the easiest way we can overcome these challenges? That is my question.
Thank you. That's a good question. I think everywhere where you have got change, there's a challenge. But I think when you're looking to the local communities, they're already catalysts of change. So you find some people who are more advanced technologically than others. You find some people that they are more advanced in communication. You find some people who are more advanced in some skills like cooking and providing service and hospitality. So what we do is we bring catalysts of change. We bring those people, and presumably in most of the places, it's those people who are educated and they're open-minded and they understand the challenges to come together and bring solutions, because with the challenge, there's an opportunity as well. So we bring solutions. Now, the thing with smartness is, you know, I did a presentation recently in a very high level seminar, and one of the ministers came back to me afterwards and said, look, Professor, I really like what you said. How can we buy smart tourism? And I said to him, look, Minister, this is not something that you buy off the shelf and you're using it. This is a different way of life. This is a different way of communicating. This is a different way of engaging with different people. So we really need to train people how to do it. We really need to bring the knowledge into the communities. So if I were you, I would start from the key publications I said I showcased today, to understand what it is and how you can actually use all these facilities to engage all the stakeholders to take advantage of smartness and agility. It will take time, but it's your responsibilities as students and educators to actually bring those tools to the communities. And especially, you know, like Samia was saying earlier on about the rural communities, and to bring them to our communities and engage with the tools. Because the interesting thing is that a lot of the tools are available already. We all have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, WhatsApp, all of those things are freely available to all of us to use. It's a question, how can we use them in a smart way?
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great and wonderful explanation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are going to take the last question for this session from Zihan Khan. Jihan Khan, could you please ask your question?
So, Assalamualaikum, sir. So, my question is that, sir,
Salam.
as we can see all of where in our tourism industry, the whole section covered by the smart technology. So, is that blessing for us or the threat for the employee of tourism sector, sir?
This is a question I get quite often, and it's always like that with technology. And I always return back and I say, do you use a car? Do you drive a car? And if you drive a car, is the blessing or a problem for you? if you know how to drive a car, it gives you great opportunity to actually carry things, to go and see different places. If you don't drive a car properly, you'll crash your car and you'll kill other people and yourself. So it's a technology and it's a method and it's a way of thinking that gives us the opportunity to bring different methods and different opportunities forward to our communities. And I think to the degree that we take advantage of this opportunity and we learn how to use it properly, we can take advantage of this. And of course, it's a chain. A lot of people will be threatened by this, but we really need to look into how we can modernize what we do and how we can take things forward. And I can see on the chat there's another question from Zami Khan, who says, what are the challenges that we find in the hotel industry? And the global hospitality industry right now is facing a huge challenge in terms of keeping everybody safe. And also it's a matter of helping our customers to perceive us as safe so we can come and stay with our hotels and eat in our restaurants and enjoy our facilities. So we really need to take advantage of smartness to actually engage in this communication with everybody and promote our products, make sure that our products are maximizing the value for all those people who are using them. And that is the only way we can come out of this situation and also bring benefits to our communities wherever those communities are.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Professor.
sir.
Thank you very much. I thought we will not take any more questions, but you already have taken one point from the chat box. It was so kind of you. So with this answer, we are concluding the question and answering session. So I would like to thank you on behalf of the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management, and especially from the International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology. And I hope you will extend your hand to cooperate with our College of Tourism and Hospitality Management in the future. And we would really like to see you in Bangladesh once when things come back to normal.
I'll be delighted. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much.